Dear students, good evening. Welcome to Law Excellence IAS. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 19th December 2020. The first article for discussion is Battle for Bengal. You need to understand the word neutrality. Neutrality versus commitment. The bureaucracy shall not have any affiliations to any political party or ideology. That is what we explain as neutrality. If the political party has affiliations or is getting overly connected with a particular political ideology, then we call it as committed bureaucracy. And committed bureaucracy is dangerous to democracy. So we need to have a neutral bureaucracy. It is essential for democratic accountability. It is essential for bureaucratic continuity. Okay, next point is when country or a state gets over politicized, the bureaucracy cannot get away from that politicization. In this case, what is happening in Bengal is police officers, IAS officers, they are coming in between the crossfire of BJP and Trinamool Congress. There is over politicization which is happening today. It happened even before when communists and Trinamool they were fighting for the power. But today it has took a new overtones for the reason that BJP is also in power at the center. Today it is becoming more a federal issue. Let us see few incidents over here. JP Nadda, BJP's chief, car was attacked. In this attack, certain window panes are being dashed, etc. Finally, center wants to fix the accountability on few police officers and want to recall by imposing IPS conduct rules, IPS cadre rules. And Didi is opposite to this. Similarly, Mr. Rajiv Shukla, if I am not wrong, when he was the Calcutta Police Commissioner, in Sarada scam, he was called for questioning by CBI. And Didi, she has opposed to this, that has become a big federal issue. And Kolkata police surrounded the CBI joint director's house there. And then center has sent the CRPF. This all shows that over politicization led to the compromise of neutrality. I'm not making it is definitely happening, but there is a chance that neutrality may get compromised. And the second is officers will not dare to deliver their duties. They fear that if something goes wrong, they will be in danger. And if you come to welfare schemes, West Bengal government is not interested in implementing or enforcing PM Kisan, Ayushman Bharat, saying that these have to be routed through the state government. So these issues between the political parties are becoming the federal issues. This can be avoided. Next is friend and neighbor. This is about Bangladesh. You know, 1971 Bangladesh became an independent country. India's contribution cannot be underemphasized in this. Today, it is celebrating the 50th anniversary of this independence. Now, Sheikh Hasina's Awami League is on forefront of welfare, development, trade, etc. It means a stable political system exists in Bangladesh today. Opposition parties, especially the fundamentalist Islamic parties, they became weak and they are struggling from corruption and other issues. In this scenario, India can take its friendship forward and Bangladesh can be considered as an all-weather friend of India. Here there are few irritants which we need to look at. The Citizenship Amendment Act, it has unnecessarily raised questions about the friendship. And second, border issues, unsettled border issues are still there. And Teesta River Water Treaty is not settled yet. And China is making deep inroads into Bangladesh. In this context, these need to be addressed to strengthen this friendship further. Ideological differences, religious factors shall not come in between in strengthening this friendship. Chalking out the Congress enduring revival. So, what the author says is today, Congress is necessary for the nation. An alternative view, a liberal progressive view, a pluralistic way of life is to be represented by a political party. And that political party at national level can be Congress because it still has 20% of the vote share. In this scenario, Congress has certain systemic weaknesses in the changed times which it need to correct. In this context, Congress need to give a sense of vision and sense of identity to its members. If you observe during the independence movement, why the Congress was such a rallying point is It gave a sense of pride to the man on the road that he is for a greater cause standing over here. He is trying to liberate this country. So that sense of identity need to be instilled into the members of Congress. And the second thing is organization shall re-establish it connect with masses. It means the high command politics, or I can put it as the coterie system which is working in the Congress has disconnected the people from the masses. So top to bottom approach need to be replaced by bottom up approach. But the today's problem is media is polarized like never before. Media is also in fear. In this context, making the media as an instrument to reach to the masses may not happen. So what is the way forward? People to people connect, human to human connect that can take the Congress party into the grassroots level. And the third thing is, the most important thing is leadership at the top level. The leadership has to guide. The leadership has to motivate. So an energetic leadership accepted by the different sections of the party need to be taken up. The internal factionism shall be handled by the strong leadership. Unity of command is essential for any organization, and Congress is no different. And we also need a grassroots level establishment of organization, village level, mandal level committees. If observe in the independence movement, the biggest strength of the Congress is to have an organizational structure that has reached to the grassroots level. Today, this grassroots level organization is missing. If we can make all these things, the Congress can be successful. We can't have simple technical solutions to establish an organization at grassroots level. We have to ensure human to human connect. Any organization for that matter has to be revived. Technology can just be a facilitator. Human to human connect that makes a big difference. So today BJP Congress wants to imitate BJP by keeping or bringing in booth level committees, etc. Before you do that, establish the party at the grassroots level first. These will happen automatically after that. This is the point we need to remember. MSP, the factoids versus the facts. What is a factoid? Fact look like. This is what we call it as factoid. Oid means look alike. So these are not real facts, but they look like facts. So in the issue of MSP, there are certain myths. Most of the people who get benefited from MSP are large farmers, and most of the regions which are getting benefited are Punjab and Haryana. This is what is the myth which exists in everyone's mind. These trends have changed like never before. We need to keep in mind. First, what is minimum support price? It is an assurance given by the government that this is the price expected to the farmers. If the price falls below, I will procure that particular grain. Today, government announced it for 23 crops, but the procurement it is not doing. They are just staying like an announcement. In this scenario, most of the crops which are announced, they are being sold below the announced MSP level. Only rice and wheat are actively procured. If you take millets or pulses or oilseeds, many a times these are being sold below the MSP level. So, selling the grains or selling the MSP announced products above the MSP level is a myth. Second thing is, Punjab and Haryana are the most benefited states. No. Today, if you see the decentralized procurement, let us understand what is this decentralized procurement. The states are given the responsibility to procure the grain, and center will reimburse the money at the predetermined rate. So the responsibility is on the states. Today, many of the states are very active in procuring the grains. In this scenario, if you observe, the most of the procurement last year has come from MP in wheat. When you go to rice, it is the Chhattisgarh, followed by Odisha. So that clearly shows that Haryana and Punjab are not the sole beneficiaries of MSP. What is the third myth of it? Large farmers are the beneficiaries of MSP. Immediately after Green Revolution, it might be true, but today 70% of the farmers who are getting procured or whose grain is procured are small and marginal farmers. So the facts on the ground related to MSP are changing that need to be taken into cognizance before we take up any discussion surrounding MSP. Next is PM makes a strong pitch to protesting farmers. What is the pitch of the Prime Minister over here to the protesting farmers? One is, please come to talks. Second is, MSP is not going to go away. And urea shortages and other systematic problems that are there in the farming, the government is trying to rectify. The fertilizer subsidy and other subsidies are expected to continue. So Prime Minister is inviting the farmers to come for talks. That is what is happening. Supreme Court finds High Court order on AP government disturbing. What did the High Court order here is? It wants to state that is there a constitutional breakdown in the state or not will be established through a judicial inquiry. So constitutional breakdown, if it is there, what is the outcome of it? Obviously, it has to attract Article 356. Is the High Court is the one which has to decide the constitutional breakdown? No. It has to be decided by the President of India in consultation with the Governor. So High Court crossing this line is questioned by the Supreme Court in this particular case. The next article is Parliamentary Panel calls for migrant workers database. If you observe COVID-19, the biggest crisis India ever faced, migrant workers, they have faced the wrath of it. The major reason for this is these workers database is not available with the government, either to offer them benefits or to transmit them to their native places. No data is available with the government. If the data is available, it also can be a tool for social security, ensuring various regulatory laws in support of them. In that scenario, maintenance of migrant laborers or workers database is suggested by Anand Sharma, the committee headed by Anand Sharma. Second is Epidemic Diseases Act 1897, and then Disaster Management Act 2005. These have become the basis to handle the COVID-19. Are they effective laws, tools? No, they are inadequate. In this context, it is the time to revive them, and COVID-19 will not be the first pandemic and the last pandemic we are expected to face. In that situation, India need to be more careful. The legal instruments, economic instruments, social instruments, data, everything shall be made ready to fight the COVID-like incident more coherent. That is what the take-home point. Thank you very much. Have a great day. This is Dr. Rambabu signing off for Law Excellence.